welcome back to another episode of Expertly Unqualified.
Welcome back, everyone.
Today, you're in for a major treat. I say that every week, but I think this week's going to be kind of fun. As always, we'll dive into our UHAT news, the news you need to know now, best news you'll hear all week. And then from there, we are going to describe some of the most disappointing moments for Midwestern. I feel like spring is the perfect time to discuss this because the weather in the spring is all over the place. And that's just one of the crazy parts about the Midwest. If you aren't from the Midwest, maybe we'll persuade you not to move here. I'm kidding. Maybe you'll want to move here with all the chaos. And if you're from the Midwest, I hope you can relate to this very deeply. But without further ado, let us start with our UHD news of the week. Yeah. So let's start with the weekly stats you didn't need to know, but now you know. Holly, what you got for the week?
Okay, so I guess I'm not sure if this is as interesting to other people as it is me, but I started going back to the gym and lifting again. And for
Nice.
the first time ever, I was able to bench press more than I could squat or deadlift, which I was
That's
I know.
You know how what they always say, like, women have strong legs, women have the strong upper body. But
Uh-huh.
dang, you got it
So
flipped.
it
You had
still
Uno reverse.
was not a lot. I could squat 55 and deadlift 55, but I
That's
could
still really good.
bench it's not a whole lot, but
Dang.
still.
All these pumping iron just gonna be jacked by summertime. Dang. But that's good.
And, another weekly stat is amount of miles I ran this week is, well, K, which is 3.1
Nice.
miles.
That's
So
very
again,
nice.
I was not fast, but hey, at least I did it.
That's all that matters. I think you're running more miles than I have this past week. I'm kidding. Um that let's see. So we recorded this, so this will be posted the second weekend of May. The last weekend of March, I was supposed to do a long run. Parents' house is pretty close to my house. And so I found a trail and I went like the opposite way of the trail so that I would do a longer portion before I got to their house because then I just grabbed some water. Well, I had started running and I got to their house and I was like, "No, I'm just gonna relax here for a little bit." And I just had a few more miles to go to get back to my house, but I was like, you wanna drive me home? And she did. So if you're training for a race and that happens, it's all good. Just hopefully wherever your stopping point isn't too far away from where you
And
need to go.
it's still better than not doing any run at all, so you're still making
Exactly.
progress.
I'm like overconfident right now for this race. I'm like, I did it last year. I can do it again. It'll only be like 3 hours of torture. It'll be fine.
Only
It'll be
3 hours.
fine. Only 3 hours. I mean, last year I ran a little bit under 3, so my goal is to get a little bit under what I got last year, but then at this point, I'm like, just finishing the race sounds great to me. Let's see. Weekly stat for my week is 4, and that's the number of earrings I dropped down the sink.
Ooh, were
I
they all was it all at the
I
same time?
Yes, okay. So, I don't know about you, but, like, when I wear earrings oh my god, earrings, that did not sound right. When I wear earrings, I tend to wear the same earrings all the
Mhm.
time, like, 24/7, and then maybe replace, like, one of them, um, for, like, a special occasion or whatever, and so I had taken them out because I needed to clean them or whatever, and so I put them in a little I don't know about you, but this is how I clean 'em. I put them in a little Dixie cup, and I
Mhm.
add peroxide over them, and then I let them sit for a little bit, and then, like, wipe them down with a Q-tip and whatnot. And so I didn't plug the sink, but I was going to, but I had the peroxide on the sink, then I had the little Dixie cup with all the earrings in there. At least they were hoops in, like, one piece, they weren't 2 pieces, which was good. And then I accidentally knocked something into the sink, and when I went to go try and catch it, I knocked the cup of earrings, and before I could, like, press the plunger in the middle of the sink down to stop it, they had already disappeared.
It's so sad.
I know, I was like, "Oh my goodness." They weren't expensive or anything, but I was like, "Come on." I was actually trying to be a good person and clean my earrings, you know? And then I texted my mom because do you ever do this where you just, like, complain randomly? I'm like, "Ugh, I knocked all my earrings down the sink." when she goes, I told your dad this story, talk with him. He'll be by soon. So then I'm like working and then I hear a knock on the door. He's got his tools and stuff, and he's like, all right, let's go get those earrings out. So I learned a good lesson. Shout out to Ted. He showed me how to like underneath the sink. It's called a trap, I guess, and it's a U shape of the PVC pipe so that it traps stuff from like going all the way down the drain. So I got fancy drawers on my vanity where the drawers are cut out to fit around the piping for the sink. So then we had to figure out how to take those off because then you can't reach like the sink parts at all. So we figured that out. And then the trap is just hand tightened. So you just unscrew that, but you want to make sure you have a little container underneath because there's probably going to be some water. At least I was smart and didn't run the water. And then we found the earrings and actually the stopper, I guess you could take it out, and 3 of the earrings were stuck in the stop, and then 1 was at what's called the thingamajig at the bottom, the trap. And so I got them all back, and then when Nikki went to put the trap back, he realized one of the gaskets for the trap, excuse me, he realized one of the gaskets for the trap didn't, it had like a rip in it. So I'm like, okay, so this would have leaked eventually. He runs over to Ace Hardware's a new gasket, showing me how to put it back together. Well, the gasket was wrong, so he had to run back and get the correct one. And at least Ace is super close to my house, but I learned how to do that. Yeah, so now I'm a plumber,
That's so cute
and
though.
my earrings are now clean. So note to self: always close the drain first, and then take the earrings out, so that that won't happen to you.
And
But
at
now
least
you
you
know.
got them back too, but I'm always so paranoid too because I know it's not smart, but I clean my jewelry in the shower a lot of times because I
I
have the
would be
spray
so
peroxide,
nervous that it would
but
fall.
I have like a shower like
Oh,
over
okay.
the cover. So even though I have it, I probably should stop doing that eventually because one of these days I'm not going to have the shower cover. It's going to go down the
Oh my
drain.
god. Yeah, that
But
would
yeah,
not be good.
I found like the spray peroxide, so I really like that too.
Um, well, moving on to headlines of the week. Did you have any headlines for this week?
Headlines of the week. I got the keys to my new apartment and I have a month and a half to move all my stuff over. So thankfully I'm not in a big crunch.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
I think I'm just gonna move like a car full of stuff every day I go to work just to get it all done bit by
Yeah.
bit and then move the furniture later on.
Yeah, it's nice when you have a little bit of time because sometimes when you start packing for all that, you're like, how much stuff do I have? And then it's just overwhelming. But to have that much amount of time, that would be
So pro tip, I have not unpacked. So not good,
there
but
you
it'll at
go.
least
Then
be
you don't
easy.
have to repack.
At least it'll be easy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, headline of the week was I created a gallery wall in my living room. I know I had complained about this a few weeks ago about I just look into my living room and it's blank. There's literally nothing there. So the previous owners had a giant mirror on their wall, like the plain wall that I was looking at. And then they had like a little sofa table underneath it. And we were originally thinking of maybe keeping that idea, but then I used ChatGPT and organized my living room imaginary in an imaginative way. And we like the idea of a love seat with the sofa table behind it. So I'm like, what am I gonna do with this blank wall? Well, here's a pro tip. Go get some brunch with your cousin and then persuade. You don't even need to persuade. Just say, we're going to Home Goods. You can find everything you need there. You walk around the store about 8 times, do some laps, and spend a little too much money. But I was able to find a really cool mirror that fit the space perfectly. And I was just gonna get a round one, but then I kept looking, and this one, maybe I'll post it. It has like waves around the outside, so it's kind of like wavy, almost like a scalloped edge, kind of, and like a light wood. And then I was like, oh, what should I do with this wall? And so I have the mirror, but I'm like, I feel like it would just be weird to have a wall with a giant mirror. With my cousin, so I make a gallery wall. Genius. And so if you haven't been to Home Goods or TJ Maxx, they have frames out the wazoo, every shape, size, color. Oh, if you don't know what a gallery wall is, because I feel like it just became popular recently. It's you take a wall and then you put a whole bunch of different frames on it of different sizes, shapes, colors, textures, and it's like organized chaos. It's imperfectly perfect to look at. You change the frames, you make some landscape, you make some vertical, you really just throw everything at. And so I found a bunch of frames, and then I was like, I feel like I have enough frames. Again, I didn't measure anything, so I was just like, it'll be good. But then I didn't know how many frames I needed, so I just stopped when I found a good amount of frames. And then when I went to go organize it, I forgot that I got some paintings from my grandma that my great great aunt painted. Just cute little frames. And so I picked those up and they fit perfectly with the other frames. So I have to send you a picture because it turned out really cool. I felt like Bob the Builder. I had my pink hammer out from my set, my toolkit. I went to Ace Hardware and got a picture hanging kit where it has the nail and the little, I don't even know what they're called, the little hooks with the nail. I said, everyone please move away. I'm going to do a house project. So it's kind of fun, and you use tape to kind of measure stuff out, and you organize it on the floor first, and then you rearrange everything, and then it looks totally different on the wall. But officially finished it, and I think it turned out pretty.
I saw one of the pictures and it is really cute.
Oh, did I send you the final picture?
Maybe not the final. I think I saw the work
Well,
in
I'll have
progress.
to send you the final. And then now I just need to fill the frames of photos. So that'll be my next task for when I have time. But that was my headline of the week.
But it still looks good without photos.
Moving on to adulting of the week. Did you adult this week?
Adulting of this week. I did my homework and I did my taxes and I set up a high yield savings account and I made a budget for the next year and a
You
plan
adulted enough for like the
to
whole year.
buy a house when we get the VA loan. So it was a lot, but it was
Yeah.
at least. What about you? Any adulting this week?
Well, I was just gonna say that sounds like a lot, but I bet it feels so good to have it all done, and it's very helpful to have those things all figured out.
Oh, for sure.
Um, okay, my adulting of the week was I deleted Instagram off my phone. I found that I was just randomly scrolling at
Mhm,
different times throughout the day for no purpose other than to
mhm.
watch somebody show me their 9 to 5. That was very aesthetically pleasing. I'm like, why am I wasting time looking at this?
Yeah.
There's no point. And, yes, you can set a time limit on your phone, and it'll say, like, you've reached your time." But just as easily, you click the button that says, "Nope, ignore," and I fell into that category. And it's not even like I was spending that much time, but I'm like, I started to think about it. If every day you spend half an hour or an hour scrolling, how much time are you wasting in a whole year? And that the number just seemed way too big. So I decided to delete it off my phone. But then I thought, still need to post for podcasts and for podcasts, which I've been terrible about doing, but we'll see. Maybe April will be minimum. So I was like, okay, I can just use my laptop. I'll be an
Mhm.
80-year-old grandma looking at Instagram on my laptop. If I so choose to scroll, I'm gonna look like a freaking weirdo at my computer just scrolling away. And on top of it, my computer will have to be charged, and there's a good chance it's probably not charged. So there's a bunch of like hoops I would have to jump through to scroll. And what I found so far is that when I do decide to scroll, I'm able to stop faster and I get bored by it more often. And I've been able to do like other things instead of scrolling. Like I've been doing my Duolingo, trying to
Mhm.
learn some Greek. I've
Ooh.
been reading more. But I do have to. This might be part of baby rant. But I tried to post, like, you know how I post like an actual post for each episode, and then I put in our story the link to the YouTube and the Spotify. Well, on the laptop version, you can't post a story. So I had to download Instagram on my phone again, post the story, and then delete it. And I was like, ugh, I tried really hard. So that was my adulting of the week. We'll see how long it stays off my phone, but I feel like so far so good. And I feel like most of the time when you're scrolling, it's just random stuff you didn't need to know.
But no, oh, for sure. And, like, I'm the same way too where, like, sometimes too, like, I have body dysmorphia, so for me, like, being on social media a lot is a little bit hard just because, like, I know everything's edited, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it just gets to my head a bit more, so.
Or even you'll start looking and be
Mhm.
like, okay, so this person's about the same age as me. How do they
Yeah.
have a house this big? How are they able to run this business? You play a lot of comparison games.
Oh, for sure.
I said, I don't need that. But do I still want to figure out how to do a voiceover and show you my 9 to 5? Heck yeah.
So if you have no other, I'll say moments, I have a segue into trends.
Okay.
Okay, so speaking of people who are on social media when maybe it's not healthy for them. Taylor Frankie Paul, an update. So The
Ooh,
Bachelorette has been
update.
canceled this season. I forgot if we talked about this on the podcast yet,
I
but
mentioned it, I guess it would have been 2 weeks because we skipped
oh
Easter
yeah.
weekend, so
Huh.
but the weekend before Easter, I did mention that you wish you thought, and, you can't. But continue.
So I'm glad I at least got to read the spoilers because if there were no spoilers, you wouldn't know it would happen at all. But
Mhm.
there will not be a Bachelorette season. And Taylor Frankie Paul was getting a lot of criticism from her fans to stay off social media, which she said, "I will not stay off."
I mean, I guess I could see it's her job, but the whole situation is just like all of it.
Mhm.
The Mormon wives, secret lives, Mormon wives stuff. It's all a little. Everybody's got something going on.
But yeah, so that's my trending topic of the week.
My trending topic was just something random that, of course, happened when I started scrolling. But I guess there's this new trend of if you have a kid and they're having a tantrum, instead of trying to, I don't tell them, like, stop crying, tell them to stop doing whatever they're doing. That probably doesn't work very well. But you wanna know what works really well is apparently you could just start yelling, "Jessica? Where are you, Jessica? Jessica, where you at?" And basically it confuses them to stop having a tantrum. And that's gonna be kind of funny, like, watching your kid do that. And then I wonder if they grow up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Jessica's coming for me." But that's what was on my trending topics for this week.
But my dad doesn't do that exact same thing, but he does do something similar where, like, if one of us are sad, not necessarily a big like tantrum, but just like sad or crying, he'll start saying random, silly, crazy things. Sorry, until we feel better, and then he's like, "All right, you want some snacks or a drink?" Or
Yep.
which
I feel like
I
that's
guess
a classic dad thing.
I guess it works.
Yeah. I feel like you just got distracted. But that wraps up our WHAT news of the week. The news you needed to know now. And now you do. But moving on to the main part of this episode, which I feel like is so relatable, the most disappointing moments for a Midwesterner. We're not trying to be Debbie Downers. What would be instead of a Debbie Downer? What would be a Midwesterner? What do you think? What do you think? I don't know. It'll come to me. I was trying to do a play on words about Midwesterner, about being like sad Midwesterner.
But
Okay.
I feel like despite, like, being put off as, like, the second city or boring, I
Mhm.
feel like in general, a lot of Midwesterners are pretty happy, especially around the Great Lakes. There's cheap food, lots of outdoor activities, easy pace of life, and, like, the work-life balance is pretty good compared to the coast, I think. But we're gonna be more negative today. We're gonna look at the disappointing moments.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do the best moments of Midwest, but we gotta start with the disappointing.
And then there's
I
only room to go up.
Yeah, we can go only go up from here. I think the biggest thing when I think of the Midwest is weather. And I probably am saying this because we're in the middle of spring and this weather has been absolutely insane. A few weeks ago on a Monday, it was like 82 degrees. It was still March, 82, sunny, beautiful out. The next day, it was still warm, but then rainy. And then one day after that, it was 40. Can you explain to me how the weather changes 40 degrees in 2 days? So I
Oh,
wanna know.
seriously. And today, it's gone up at least 25 degrees just today.
Yeah, definitely. And then we always have this sense of, like, fall, spring, so maybe our winter wasn't that crazy. And to be honest, I don't think our winter was all that crazy this past year. Like, not 13 feet of snow or I mean, it did get really cold for a long time, like, colder than normal for a very long time, but it wasn't like I probably just
Yeah,
blurred out. You know how, like, when
'cause
people give birth, they, like, forget about all the pain and everything they went through? It's like that, but we do that with weather. We're like, "I can't remember when it was negative 40 degrees outside." No.
I remember it was just below 0 for a while, but there was no, like, big polar vortexes and big snowstorms this year.
Yeah. So then
Nothing
we'll
too
have the
notable.
cold weather, and then it'll finally get nice, and then the next week it'll be back to cold. And I think that's happened 3 or 4 times since coming from fall to spring, and we're like, "Come on."
So
Yeah.
lately it's just been very cold, rainy, and windy, but thankfully no tornadoes right now.
Yeah, but just crazy thunderstorms. Did you see the lightning the other night?
Oh yeah, I was driving home in it, the lightning like the other afternoon too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it wasn't just the other night when you guys are hearing
Oh,
this, but
yeah.
um there was this thunderstorm that came through and at like 10:30 at night and I was getting ready for bed. I was like, wow, there's a lot of lightning out there. So like any Midwesterner would do, I just stood by the window and recorded it all. It was like somebody had flash photography
Mhm.
and was just lighting up the sky. And then there's lightning bolts coming from the sky to the ground. It was crazy. And it went on for like at least 40 minutes.
So I had opened and I went in, like I had fallen asleep pretty early that day.
Mhm.
So my cat was sitting out in my living room with my fiance watching a movie together, just hanging out. And though it wasn't even the storm that woke me up, but my cat was yelling to come check on me because I was
Oh my
sleeping
gosh.
alone, which I thought was funny. He wasn't even scared. He just wanted to make sure I was fine.
Yeah.
And then I let him in and I just went back to sleep. But it was a lot of thunder and a lot of like lightning too.
But the one thing that doesn't stop a Midwesterner is the weather. No matter what the weather is, people will grill. My dad is the one to do that. He'll just pull the grill a little bit closer to the sliding door, and as long as it's not windy, he's grilling.
Which I feel like it has been, like, a lot of people's core memory as a child is having their parents grill during, like, a tornado warnings
Oh my god. Okay,
or
how
a
about
tornado
this?
watch.
The tornado siren's going off. You
Yeah,
and your whole family's downstairs, but dad's upstairs looking out the back
yeah,
window,
yeah.
looking out the front door. And when you're a kid, you're like, oh my god, you gotta get down here. What are you
Right
doing?
now. I know, and then they're just upstairs, like, grilling brats outside.
Yeah. And then remember how my neighbor during like a rainstorm, well, it was mostly just raining. It wasn't storming, I guess. He just brought out a lawn chair and sitting in his garage with a cup of coffee.
Mhm.
He's back at it again. It was very sunny out one day, and he just pulled his little lawn chair into his driveway, and he just sat out there,
Just having a good time.
just having a grand old time. And then I guess one thing that people in other parts of the country like about the Midwest is that there are seasons, because I guess other places don't have all the seasons. Obviously, they don't have all the seasons, but all of our seasons kind of blend together. So you don't know, like in one week, you could have spring, summer, early winter,
Yeah,
all in a week.
yeah, easy, easy.
So yeah, weather's definitely one of those. But like when it's really nice weather, it's great. When it's really bad weather, it's not so great. Can you think of anything else that what else does the Midwest let us down on?
So, another one is some food letdowns. The number one biggest one is Culver's being closed. Very
Oh,
disappointing. Very
it
disappointing.
always hits you like really late at night, and you're like, I could go
Mhm,
for Culver's right now,
mhm.
like a concrete mixer and some cheese curds, and then you're like, dang, you're already close. It's a little dangerous because there's one probably like 2 miles from my house. So if you've never had Culver's and you're listening to this, and you're like, what the heck is Culver's? Get on a flight, drive to Wisconsin, whatever you gotta do, you gotta taste it at least once in your life.
Another big one is a restaurant doesn't have cheese curds.
Yeah, you want cheese curds. Who doesn't want a cheese curd? Probably somebody who's lactose intolerant, but maybe it'll still be worth it.
Hey, I bet you've done it at least once.
The other thing when like Midwest lets you down is like you don't know how to dress half the time
Mhm.
because of the weather. I'm guessing going back to weather. Weather's just huge, but like I was talking with my cousin and she said that I got a weekly stat for you. I had to wear 4 different coats this past week because of all the weather changes.
No, it's true. I had to switch so many times this week too, especially because it gets really windy and the wind just cuts through you.
Yeah. All right. So we got weather and food. Was there any other food letdowns?
One last one is very disappointing if you go to a pizza restaurant and they don't have ranch. Like you're in the Midwest, you need to know your clientele. Come on.
Yeah, ranch. That's just a staple. And yeah. Now I want pizza and ranch. This is bad. I guess I'm a little hungry now. Let's see what else. How would you describe a Midwest goodbye? I'm
So
curious
this
on your take.
It's very funny. I think my family takes so long to say goodbye. I don't know if your family is the same way,
Mine too.
where you have to say bye to everyone at least once. And then the parties are also like large family parties. So it's not just like you have to say bye to 5 people, but like you have to say bye to like 20 different people. I remember
Oh
like
my god.
I went
Yeah.
to a family reunion last summer and it took me like probably a solid 30 minutes to say bye.
And then the worst is when, like,
Yeah.
you're little and you're leaving with your family and, like, you're tired and you're like, "Alright, goodbye." And then as your parents are saying goodbye to maybe one of your cousins, one of their siblings or whatever, then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't talked with you all night because there were 45 other people at this party." And then they start having a whole conversation, and you're like, "It's past my bedtime, let's go."
Which it's really funny because like, I feel like I relate to, like, those memes about the kids falling asleep in chairs because family parties will last past midnight, and, like,
Mhm.
there'll be, like, little kids too, and they're just like, "Oh, just go sleep." Like, you're not done yet.
"Come on, let's go."
I think another, Midwest disappointing experience. So, just because of the cold, the roads break down a lot faster than areas that don't get ice and snow. So another
Mhm.
disappointing moment is when no warning, your commute to work has construction, like no sign warning,
Yes.
and then you have to take a detour again with no warning. Which, like, I guess, like, I get that they have to do road maintenance. I love when they at least put up a sign saying when it will start. You're prepared, but just like it scares me so much when I'm already like cutting it to get to work on time, and then suddenly, like, my on-ramp onto the highway is closed or, like,
Oh,
they
that's
entirely
the
closed off a
worst.
stretch of the road. That's the biggest disappointment, too.
Well, you know what they always say, there's only 2 seasons in the Midwest, winter and construction.
So we're about to be back to that time of year.
Oh, it's already hit, like, the one exit I take to go to work, they cut it down to 1 lane. Now, they did have a sign before, but then you always forget, like, what the date they put on the sign, but come on. At least they
And
were working. The worst is when it's construction for miles and miles and miles.
oh,
It's a
yeah.
beautiful day, the weather's good, nobody's working on the road. They're like, "Come on, I could start doing this road. We could have it done by June."
Another one is just, like, in the winter specifically, how long it takes to go anywhere. So, like, you have to, like, get dressed first and get your hat and your gloves and your scarf. Otherwise, you're gonna freeze, and then you have to, like, wait and sit for your car to warm up before you can go out anywhere. So, I take it for granted in the summer how easy it is to just be able to go anywhere whenever. I have
Mhm.
to deal with all like, gathering and waiting and doing all the steps before you can go out.
It's a very good point.
So,
I forgot the other big one, besides weather, is Chicago sports.
I was about to say the same thing. It is hard to be a fan of Chicago sports most of the time. I know they've had a couple good years, but they're so few and far between.
Man, okay, you got okay, the White Sox did good in 2005. You got the Cubs that had to wait 108 years to win the World Series. It's now been 10 years since they've won. And we can't speak of the White Sox anymore because they had the worst record in MLB. Was it MLB history?
Yeah.
And then you got the Blackhawks, and they were good for like 3 or 4 years within like a 5 year span. And now I don't know what's happening to them. I guess I don't follow them as much. They're
And
leaking.
just don't even get me started on the Bears.
No, and last year they had such a good season, but then they did stupid stuff. You know what? 3rd and long, go for it. Just go for it. And it's like, and then it's always interesting to see once there's like the trades and all those deadlines and stuff. And I feel like there's so many new players and so many good players left. And so it seems a little crazy with all the headlines of like so and so has moved to this team. We got this. So I think actually the draft is coming up. So that'll be good to see. I think we're on the right track, but it was just so disappointing and you're so close. So close. But that's the common theme for all Chicago teams is you're just so close. Or the complete opposite. You were so far away. Good luck next year.
Do you have any other disappointing moments? I'm saving my best.
I don't think I have any more that I can think of right now.
'Cause I will say I generally do really like living in the Midwest, so I think we'll have a lot more positive.
Oh yeah.
So, I think the number one biggest disappointing thing is when someone bumps into you and doesn't say, "Oh, I'm sorry."
You're
Which,
so right.
again, it's not that big of an offense, but at the same time, it's just whenever someone, like, pushes you or bumps into you and they're not like, "I'm sorry."
Oh,
Like,
I almost close right past you. Almost scooch right
but
past you.
you miss an yeah, that's the biggest
Yeah, if you don't What are you doing?
And one final biggest disappointment. I'm not sure if you've tried it, but the number one biggest Chicago specific disappointment is trying Malort for the first time. Have you ever had some?
I haven't that, but my brother is always trying to get me to try some.
Me, and your brother, we can get together. You don't even have to drink, but at least at least me and your brother can have a shot of Malort.
Do you
So
like the taste of Malort?
no, it's terrible. Well, it's not as bad as people make it out to be, but it's like trying like cinnamon. It's like drinking cinnamon mint flavored mouthwash.
And you
But
want a Chicago handshake? For those of you who don't know, there's an old style and a shot of Malort. But I don't really like beer, and I've never had old style, and I don't like Malort. My brother's just very Chicago and very much a Chicagoan because he likes both, I'm pretty sure. Or at
so
least
the
he just
import.
tries to get everybody to take a shot of Malort.
So that's the most important thing is that you don't even have to like Malort. Drink it.
Yeah.
You just have to drink it to suffer,
Yeah. You just
and then
gotta
you're part of
be,
the
if
club.
you want to be a true Midwestern, or I guess I'm not a true Midwestern, but that's fine. It's fine. Oh my gosh. Well,
But
I think that's all that I had for disappointments. So I'll probably come up with more after and post this. And then we'll have to come back to that.
do you have any rants for this week or
I have
expert advice?
advice.
Okay, let's hear your advice.
Okay, so over the past couple weeks, I've been struggling to come up with a meal plan for the whole week because you need at least an idea of what you're going to cook that week so you can grocery shop to have all the ingredients. And I just, for the life of me, couldn't think of it. I was going to grocery shop on a Saturday, but I'm like, there's no point in me going on Saturday when I have nothing planned. So Sunday morning rolls around, I go downstairs, I turn on the Food Network, Pioneer Woman's on. If you haven't seen her show, it's really good, and she's just fun to watch. And I actually had one of her cookbooks. I got to go to like a meet and greet and listen to her talk and learn about her. Let me tell you, don't watch it on a Sunday when you haven't gone grocery shopping and you're hungry because she gives you too many good ideas. One of the few weeks ago, I made stuffed peppers. Normally, I'm not like the biggest fan of stuffed peppers. They've always been meh. But these were beef and bean stuffed peppers with ground beef, cannellini beans, and pesto on the inside, which I thought was really good, tapped with like cheese. So I made those. But then the whole episode I watched like a few weeks ago was just desserts, which is my weakness. So much of a weakness of mine. And she made these s'mores cookies. If you're looking for a good cookie recipe, just to like make your whole day better, almost like bakery sized cookies, look at Pioneer Woman's s'mores cookies. They are so good. They are not healthy for you at all. Like one bit. It made 17 cookies. I was smart and didn't bake up them all, so I just have a few of a little bit of cookie dough frozen so I could bake them whenever. It was 2 sticks of butter, a cup of sugar, a half cup of honey. You put chocolate in there. I didn't have graham crackers, but I used golden graham cereal, which was so good if you haven't had it in a while. And then marshmallows, and then you tap it with more chocolate. It's so good. So if you need to pick me up this week, go make it.
I'm looking at them now. They look so good. It's like a peanut butter blossom, but with s'mores. It literally looks.
Did you have an expertly unqualified rant or advice of the week?
For my advice this week, I highly recommend getting a high yield savings account if you haven't gotten one yet. SoFi is definitely the most popular one, but there's a lot other ones too. There's like E-Trade by Morgan Stanley. But you can basically get on average like 2 to 4% return on investment per month. So just money you're having sit in your bank account
Yeah,
will get interest. So I definitely
I like that. And then there's actually some that inside, so you have like the savings account, but inside we can have buckets of things.
Mhm.
So you can make, oh, I want to save $2,000 for vacation. You can split, or you might have a vacation bucket. You might have maybe like fun money that you spend, or maybe something for like clothes, and you can disperse your savings account into those however many buckets you want, which was nice. And I feel like they've come a long way. And then you can even, because sometimes people will like be like, well, if I need the cash now, how am I going to get it that
Mhm.
fast? It's pretty much like next day transfer, which is nice. We're not a
Which
financial podcast, but
not to turn into Dave Ramsey, but again, with having those different buckets, you can have them inside of a high yield savings account. So like instead of buying something on credit and having to pay them interest, you basically will be getting to your financial goal faster because they'll be paying you interest for having the money that in that account, which is pretty cool.
it's true. Real true. Did you have any rants for this week?
I don't have a
All right, so you caught us on a good day. We complained a little bit and then had advice. We didn't complain, give you advice, and then rant. So that's good. If you made it this far, please, please, please give us a like, a comment, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. We'll post every Sunday. Obviously, we didn't post last Sunday because it was Easter. Everybody
and
was
we were on
around
spring
with
break,
family.
okay?
Yeah, we're on spring break. But thank you for listening and or watching, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See you next time. Bye.
All right, that's a wrap on our episode of Expertly Unqualified. If you stuck around this long,
You're either extremely loyal, extremely bored, or extremely caffeinated. Either way, we love that for you.
make sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review if you laughed, related, or were personally attacked by something we said. Find new episodes and more on our website, thepodmates.com.
And don't forget, follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Expertly Unqualified. Send us your stories, questions, or weird hot takes. You might just hear them on a future episode.
We are, as always,
Expertly Unqualified. Conversation's so fun, you'll forget we have no idea what we're doing.
this was a Podmates production.